Tonight's workshop is going to be about sketching North American birds. And the inspiration for that was a new book that I got recently. I'm all, it's an obsession, right, y'all? If you love books, it's totally an obsession. I through my library, I probably had 600 books. And yes, here too, right? And so this is a book that I got recently. It's actually an older book. Let's see, when is it from? It's beginning to fall apart, but that's okay. You know what? It still works very well. 2011. So what is it? 12, 13 years old, something like that. And so this is Identify and Draw North American birds because I haven't considered myself to be a good bird drawer, and but I like birds and I think they should be good, easy for me to paint. They should be. It's just one of those things where you have to, if you have a desire to learn something like that, or you're like, oh, I really like that, in order for you to get proficient at it, what do you have to do? You just have to do it over and over and over again. So I bought this book because it's full of drawings of birds. Now, this person focuses in the book. Who is the author? Uh, I guess you have to look inside. Written by Amy Root and illustrated by Michael Kanyas. And so it the focus in this book is in drawing. So for instance, here's a starling, and then over here they're going to show you the color of colored pencils to use. So if you wanted to, you could follow right along with this book with colored pencil, and then they show you how to outline and then draw in each of these birds step by step. All right. And then they're giving you the instructions there. Um, I love books that have all those kind of instructions, but this one you can also learn from. Like, this is the Bohemian waxwing, and then the blue area here shows you where in North America you're going to find that, which is a lot of fun. Look at that beautiful bird right there. Oh my gosh, it's just so gorgeous. So from outline and then starting to build it. And I thought, ooh, this is going to be the perfect book for me to do some sketchy sketches of birds and get familiar, not necessarily with pencils, although I do have a beautiful set of pencils. I wanted to do it more in a sketchy kind of effect, which is something that is the artist here, Jody Lynn Lee, is who inspires me for that. So here is an artist that I've been following for a long time on Instagram. So you can see her name right there. And don't worry, I will have a link to her Instagram channel in the description of the video on YouTube after the show. And have I ever painted? I'm just looking real quick on YouTube. I have a question. Have I ever painted a cadaver collector before? I have not. I'm wondering, do you mean like a vulture, or is there a different kind of bird that is named or known for that? I don't know. So I have not. But here is some of the work that Jody Lynn Lee does that is very inspiring. And I've actually used her as an inspiration in the past for other workshops. And do you see here how she's just doing some fun little sketches, and she's sketching out different uh, and you see how simple those are? That's what I love about what she does. What she does is, to me, very simple, very approachable, right? I feel like anybody can do that. You just have to spend a little time and focus. This one is hysterical. It's a UFO and a light coming down and then a bird down here. Like, what? But you see how sketchy she is here? You know that that's a bird. That's a nice little chick, right? Like for Easter, a fluffy yellow chick. But you can see that it's very it's not realistic, it's not fully defined, and I think that's great. Oh, let me see what's going on over here. All right. So here are some more that Jody did. And so she'll do a little sketch first, and then she comes in here and just, you see how loose they are? Like there's not really anything done on the tail up here, but it doesn't matter. That's the whole point. These are sketches. Oftentimes what she's showing you on her Instagram channel is her sketches in her sketch book. So she has a sketchbook that is like craft paper. So the color is that kind of brown color. And so a lot of her pieces where she's just sketching things out before she goes to canvas are are in that sketchbook. And she'll even put oil paint or acrylic paints in her sketchbook. So you can imagine she has to leave it open for a while. She must have more than one notebook, right? One sketchbook, because she has to leave it in order to let it dry in order to go do another one, right? Right. All right, let's set her information aside here. Yee, we got it. Now, besides that book that I just showed you, that what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna randomly like flip to a page and then we're gonna draw that bird. But there's another one that I think is really terrific. Again, if you want to um, learn the basics of drawing, and it's 10-step drawing nature. 10-step drawing nature, and notice they even have a bird on the cover here. Right, this is a Walter Foster book and it's by Mary Wooden, it looks like, right here. But I will have a link to it in the description of the video. So it says learn to draw 60 plants and animals in 10 easy steps. So even on the cover she has a bird and she shows you a basic way to do that. Oh my gosh, there's so many cool things in here. But the reason that I pulled this one out as well is, look at that, it's a seagull. And where I live, I mean, in another hour or so, the seagulls will be right out here outside my window flying over my house. Because there's bird, what we call Bird Island, right behind me. And when the sun starts to go down, all the birds go over and hang out on Bird Island. And so we have seagulls and pelicans and the pink spoonbills and just all egrets and cranes and all kinds of stuff here. And so that's why I picked this page, because there we are, step by step, how to draw a seagull. And actually on my um, on did I put it on? Oh, I think I forgot to put the pictures on YouTube. I'll have to go back out there on YouTube and add the reference photos. I have two reference photos of um, a seagull right here from my neighborhood. And then but on my website, I definitely did put it in the event for tonight. So if you're not familiar with my website, here it is right here. Let's see, website right here. It's deetsart.com. So you can take a picture of that, deetsart.com. And when you go there, just go to the events tab. And if the event is already started, oftentimes it's in the past events tab that you can find it. And I put the reference photos in there. And if I forgot to put them on YouTube in the community tab, I'll make sure that I put them in there for y'all so that you can go and print them off. But what those are is this picture here of Jonathan Livingston Seagull, right, from my neighborhood. So we're going to definitely sketch this one tonight. And here is a seagull, but I really liked the cloud formation behind the seagull. So that's but this book does have a seagull right here again. So the book would walk you right through how to do that. Now, in preparation for the workshop, I did some sketches out of the North American book, Birds book. And so that's what these are right here. And I sketched them first with pencil and then I used watercolors. So one of the things that we're going to do tonight is we're going to do some quick sketches like this, and then we'll just use some watercolors. You don't have to, I'm kind of anal and I'll sit there and I'll like play with the color and I'm like, no, the idea is to do a sketch. Stop. Try to do as less as little as possible to get the idea across. That's my objective. My nature is to just keep putting more paint on it until I go, until I either think it's done or overdone, right? But these are little sketches. This is the idea that I'm talking about. You grab yourself this. I love these sketchbooks, y'all. They come in a set of three. And so again, when you have wet paint in one, you can just set it aside and grab the other one. Um, what size is this? 5.5 by 8.5, but it's 140-pound paper by a US art supply. And so I will have a link to these in the description of the video on YouTube, but I love this paper um, because one side is rough. So this side has a little bit of roughness to it. And then when you turn it over, the back side is smooth. So you've got the two surfaces. And actually, on the front of this, I did one in oil pastels. I did a bird in oil pastels. This is what I was doing. I was looking at the cover of this book right here, and I was just sketching with oil pastels, and I made this little bird right here in oil pastel. So this watercolor paper will take your oil pastels, but because I have more art on the other side, you see how I have art on the other side. So to protect one page from the other, I just put a little bit of wax paper in between there. Boop, and close that up, and that way it protects the pages. Okay. So if you use oil paint in your pages or anything, you can just do that too. Just use a little bit of wax paper in between your pages. Um, so besides doing those little sketches with the watercolor, I also did this one, which if you've been following me on Instagram, you saw this little guy. What is that? This little guy is called a burrowing owl, and they're about this tall. And we have them in Florida. Hey, Florida Glass Girl, if you're still here, have you seen the Florida burrowing owls? They are so stinking cute. And my daughters, when they were going to school, they're long out of school, married, and all that. But when they were going to school in Hollywood, Florida, on their school property was a roped off area where these owls had a burrow. Well, there were multiple burrows in that area for these little baby owls. Or these, they're not babies. I mean, they would have their babies. The babies would be this big, and the adults would be this big, and they'd be hopping around. They're so cute. And so I had to do one of them, right? I had to do a picture of one of them. This is oil pastel. I sketched it with a graphite pencil first. And then when I tell you, to me, this is a sketch, meaning I didn't put more than one layer on. I just put one layer of oil pastels and called it a day. And it took an hour or less, right? And so that's the idea when I say a sketch. It's just sitting there a little, you have a short window of time and you can just sketch some things up. And I like oil pastel as a tool for that. So we're going to be talking about oil pastels tonight. And I wanted to show you this book, which is Oil Pastel Masterpieces in what? 4 Easy Steps. And this author also has a watercolor book as well, but I love the way that she breaks down the steps, Anna, but the way that she breaks down the steps in here and just again shows you step by step what to do. It's an excellent starting point. So if you're like, huh, oil pastels, that sounds kind of cool. I remember using those in school when I was a kid, right? Well, here is a starting point. I have other books that are for when you want to get more advanced and do more layering and all that kind of thing. But tonight we're going to sketch with oil pastels. And that's one of the things that Jody Lynn Lee, the artist that I just showed you from Instagram, she also sometimes she uses acrylic, sometimes she uses oil paint sticks, and sometimes she uses oil pastels. Whatever we have on hand, right? It's like, I want to paint and I want to paint right now. Oy. Okay, so let me move that one out of the way because we're not going to be doing any projects out of it, but I wanted you to be aware that that's an excellent book if you want to dip your toe into into oil pastel and really get excited about it. I think that's an awesome book for that. All right, let me see where we are. So what we're going to use tonight are trusty pencils. So this is the Statler. I really like the Statler pencils, the graphite pencils myself. Let me show you what they look like. And this sucker is so old, y'all. They that I don't even know if they sell this particular case anymore, but there's a whole set of them. That's what they look like. They're blue like this, and they come in different hardnesses. So that's what's indicated down here. And if I'm just doing a sketch, I'll usually, you know what, a 2B, which is what this is just the same as your school pencil, right? They always say, get out your 2B pencil for your sketching, for your tests or whatever. And that's what this one is, a 2B. So 2B is fine. Um, I have a pencil sharpener that sharpens with a really long point. So you'll see some of these have a super long point on them. And that's normally if you're going to do sketching. Um, that's what I like is I like to have a pencil sharpener with a big old long point because this is a standard pencil sharpener here and you see how tiny that lead is, and boy, when you're sketching you just go through that in no time. You're constantly sharpening your pencil, so I like those really long leads. So let me grab the B pencil out of here that has a long lead and we'll use that for our first sketch. But yeah, I love these Statler, they call them the Mars Lumograph. Can you see that right there? It says Mars Lumograph. My favorite sketching pencils. And Lordy knows I have plenty of pencils. Look, these are the ones that are non-soluble, and I have another container on my desk for the soluble. And this is just the small selection I keep on my desk. In the other room on my shelving, I have a lot more. But these are the best for me for the sketching we're going to be doing. So let me set that aside. Then I mentioned the Pentel or the oil pastels. So y'all, these are super inexpensive. Super inexpensive. Now I've heard this is a set of 36. Where does it say that? Right down here, set of 36. Um, Oil pastels, these are relatively dry oil pastels. So oil pastels have mineral oil in them. They never fully dry, meaning that just like a soft pastel, like a chalk pastel, you could still mess it up, right? It never fully dries. But some oil pastels are harder and some oil pastels are super soft and creamy, and everything in between. So the Pentels are a little bit toward the dry side. And you can see the white. I almost have none left. But the cool thing is you can buy whites by themselves. And this is actually Paul Rubens. And look at that. It's a set of 6. So I buy the set of 6 white just to be sure that I have plenty of white because you're going to go through the white a lot. But this set of 36 has a beautiful range of colors. There's also, I think, a set of 50, and that's excellent too. And they're not expensive. So for sketching like this, where you're just getting ideas down and you're having fun, especially if you're going to be doing this with kids or something, all you need is a pencil, some paper, and some Pentel oil pastels, just like they would use in school, and away you go. It's awesome. Now, I also, for my other pastels, anytime I go into an art store, like say Jerry's Artorama or something like that, I will go into the back clearance section, and I'm always on the hunt for um, oil paint sticks and oil pastels to pick them up for um, next to no money, right? A good sale. So if you ever see one of these boxes, these are the kind of boxes with the little sections you can pull out. And so it's just a plastic box like this, but you see how I was able to make sections? And so all these random oil pastels that I pick up at the various art stores that are on sale, I just throw them in here and I put them in here in color. Let's see if I can kind of show you this. Different colors. So you've got your pinks, your purples, your browns, your blues, greens down here, oranges, yellows, blacks. white and tan. And then right up in here, this is a blender. So yes, you can get what they call colorless blenders. I have two different ones here. That's a Sennelier and this is a Arengi, but they're colorless blenders to help you with your blending if you want to. But I highly suggest you pick up one of these compartment boxes, and then that way you can separate them. Now, these have a bit of a smell because guess what? They have oil in them. And so they are going to have a smell to them. Uh, it's not an unpleasant smell to me, but I've been using them for years. But just keep that in mind. Sometimes when people get their first set of Pentel and they open up the package, they're like, woo, man, they're stinky. But it just give them a little bit of time. That'll go away. Just leave them somewhere with the top off so that they can kind of off gas a little bit, and then they'll be a lot more pleasant to work with. Mine don't smell like anything because I've had them for so long, right? Let me just set those aside, and we'll be getting back to those for sure. Now, of course, I have a little bin here with different pens. These are acrylic paint pens. These are my favorite right now, the Artistro, that have a dot on one end and a brush on the other end. These are awesome. And then I have the Graby or Grabby acrylic. This works great on black paper. So we're going to try this on sketching on black paper. I think it'll be fun. And then really big Pebeo acrylic marker. That would be great. This would be great if I had a bigger piece of paper. Sometimes it's a good idea not just to work small, but to get like an 18 by 24 or an 11 by 14 piece of paper, and then, you know, use more of your body as you're just sketching and practicing so that you can teach your body what we call muscle memory. So just, you know, my micron pens in here, that kind of stuff. So those are great for like when I was doing the beaks of the birds here. You can see, you see the darkness there? That's because I used the micron pen and went back in and did a little bit of intensifying of all that. Another thing that I love to use for this kind of sketchy project is the Derwent Inktense blocks. Derwent has these blocks, and then they have pencils, and they also have Inktense pans, kind of like this, like the watercolor, like this, but they're with Inktense. And a lot of people, a lot of artists love Inktense because the colors are very, very um, bold and punchy. So let me show you here for this set of blocks. So this is the set of Inktense blocks. And y'all, this is my travel set of 12. In my drawer over here, I have the set of 72 because I love my Inktense. Okay, yeah. If you see the Inktense 72 on sale, grab it. But this is the set of 12 that is like my travel set. And so I'm going to show you some of the colors here. This is the painter's color diary. I've showed you all this before, but I love this for doing swatching in. It's watercolor paper. So love that, 100% cotton. And so here you can see when you first put the Inktense block down. Let me grab one of a piece here. So when you first put the block down, it's kind of fuzzy like this. And then you hit it with water, and these are water soluble. So you just sort of put some of it in an area, and I'm going to show you that when we get over the table. And then you hit it with water, and then the magic happens, which is what's so fun about working with the Inktense. So I have those for us to play with as well. I also have on my table my nemesis, right? The timer. So we're going to try to do some time sketching, which is scary. Um, let me just talk about the paper, and then we'll go over top of the table and we'll get started. So this oil pastel was done on a special kind of paper that has a bit of a rough surface to it. Not like sandpaper, but a really cool paper that I learned about through Lindsay Wyrick on YouTube. and she's the frugal crafter, and she's awesome. Um, and so here it's the Canson XL dry media, mixed media paper, but it's specifically designed not for wet applications, but for dry applications. And it comes in a gray and this sort of sand color. And it has this really neat texture on it. And it is awesome if you want to do some sketchy sketches or even finished artworks with oil pastels, or even just all kinds of dry media. Charcoal would look amazing on here. We're not going to use this tonight. I'm just going to set that aside for right now. Unless I get, you know, unless I get really bold and say, let's pull that out. But um, we're going to be working mostly on watercolor paper. So this is super simple. Like I said, you can just do it in your watercolor journal if you have one. Something that I got recently, and y'all, it's super cheap. Look, a whole stack of 5x7s. Oop, wherever my little note just fell to, 5x7s. Okay, I'm going to tell you a trick, because ATCs, artist trade cards, are big right now, right? Um, and you can take these 5x7s, which are super cheap. I'll put a link to them in my YouTube. Um, and then you can cut them. You cut them in half this way and then half this way. And guess what you get? You get 4 artist trade cards like this. So to me, the 5x7s are really versatile. I can do, planning on doing a bird on a 5x7 like this. And then looky, you can cut them down and get your, yeah, great tip, right? I didn't even think it's like, duh, I didn't even think of it before. Of course you can. A 5x7 cuts down to 4, 2.5 by 3.5. Why did I not think of that before? So this set of cotton paper, watercolor paper, is just a great deal that I found recently. So I thought I would share it with y'all. And then the other thing, look at this. So this is called by Claire Fontaine. Is that where it is? Where's the name? Here, Claire Fontaine. And it's normally frightfully expensive, but I happen to find this one on sale. So if you ever see the Claire Fontaine papers on sale, grab them because they're rarely on sale. And this one is their black mixed media paper. So the cool thing is, especially with oil pastels and with this pen I told you I want to use, the white pen from Gravy, this one will look amazing on this black paper. So I did cut out a piece. Let me see here. I did cut out a piece for us to play on for tonight. That's not going to be the first. That'll be a little bit later. Now, like I said, this is a little bit expensive. The Clairefontaine, I happen to find it on sale. One that's a little more student friendly is this Canson Graduate, it's called, mixed media, also black paper. So it's a little smoother. I find it's a little bit smoother than the, not quite as thirsty as the Clairefontaine. So the Clairefontaine, I would say, is a higher quality. This is still a very good quality for less money. Sometimes you need to look at the budget, right? So I've got the black paper there. We are going to start with doing some sketchy in the little US Art Supply notebook. Oh, there's one other notebook I have here. This is, working small, right? Where you're doing like, and I find for me, I need to oftentimes work a little bit bigger so that I get looser. I tend to, if I'm working in a small book, I tend to get more tight in that, I want things to look just so. And so I also have, besides those little books, and you know what I really use these books for a lot is just, I'll show you, right? I just have them next to me as I'm painting, and I'm like, oh, I need to test this color mix, right? Or these colors. And so half the time, that's what I use this book for, is just different color mixes. Here you go. Ooh. So this is a 9x12. I have 9x12s and I have 11x14. This is watercolor paper pads. And I find that helps a lot to loosen up as you're doing these kind of sketches. So this is very good quality. See the spiral bound, and it's by Arteza. These are great. So if you ever see somebody selling the Arteza stuff on Whatnot, just grab them. Great quality. And but this is a watercolor book with 32 pages in it. It's amazing. 32 sheets, 140 pound. This is the 9 by 12, but they also have it in an 11 by 14, which I have here. The best thing with the Arteza 11 by 14s is, and the same with the 9 by 12, is they'll sell them in, they sell individual ones, but the better deal is they sell them in sets of 2 or sets of 3. So you always want to check, hey, is there a great deal going on the multiple, ones? If so, then you might want to do that. All right. So I'm going to work in the Arteza, and the Arteza also, the pages are double-sided, and there's not as much difference between the top and the bottom. Where this US Art Supply, the smaller notebook, I was saying it's very rough on this side and then it's smooth on that side. So whatever works for you. But the nice thing about the Arteza is both sides are approximately the same, which is great. All right, we're going to go over the table and we're going to start sketching on that 9 by 12 notebook. And so what am I going to start out with here? I think I'll just start out with the pencil. So if you have a pencil and you have a piece of paper, and if you're at home and you don't have any fancy notebooks or anything, just grab yourself copy paper or something. You can do this with that. All right, we are going to go up over top of the table. Let's just move the oil pastels out of the way for the moment. I have so many fixatives on my table here. Actually, this fixative right here, which is one of my favorites. If you've watched me before, you've seen I rave about this one. It's by a company called Spectrafix, and it is the Degas. So it was developed or requested to be developed by Degas. And it is a casein. That's why there are cows on the front of it. A casein is a milk derivative. So it's a casein based fixative. And it says right on there it's good for oil pastel, soft pastel, chalks, colored pencils, charcoal, on paper, UPO, canvas, all kinds of surfaces. So and it's a pump spray, so you can use it in your studio. It's awesome. Love this stuff. And I've recommended it for years. I do love it. All right. So we are going to start with our birds of North America. And let me make sure that this is in your view. Yep. You know what? Let me see if I can scoochie this up just a little bit. I don't know. Are we going to be able to bring it up? Looks like maybe. Okay. There we go. I want to be sure you can see it real well. Let's see what birds. Okay. I'm just going to pick a page. That's the beautiful thing. There's so many in here. Oh, that's the sparrow. I already did the sparrow. That was this little one that I did right here. So let's pick a different one. Different page, different page. Okay, okay, okay. Oh my gosh, that is gorgeous. What the heck bird is that? Oh, look at that. This bird is in Florida. And actually, I have seen this bird. In Hollywood, I think it's in Hollywood. Correct me if I'm wrong. There is a here in Florida. There's a butterfly world, and I'm pretty sure I've seen this painted bunting at Butterfly World. So they show you a picture, and then, of course, this would be if you were working with pencils, what they show you that. And there they give you a little sketch, a little outline sketch. So we're going to do a little outline sketch like that. And then, of course, they take you through doing it with colored pencil, but we're just going to figure out what we're going to use. Let's go ahead. I'm going to put this, let me see, maybe I can just put it right here and you can still see it as I'm sketching it. I'm just going to use one of my graphite pencils. No big deal which one. What I was using earlier that I love to do sketches with was this one. their Faber-Castell makes these big old chunky pencils, and I love these because you hold them like a kid, like this, instead of holding them like this, like we would a normal pencil. And so when I did the owl, I use the big old chunky one. But right now, we're going to use just a pencil. Now, when you hold a pencil like an artist, you don't always hold it like this, like you normally would for writing. Oftentimes, you hold it more like this so that you can get a different kind of line. All right. So that's how I'm holding it right now. And that helps you to do a little bit looser line. Let me just make sure the paper is where you can see it. So I'm going to take a look at this image right here and sketch something similar. I usually start around the head here. So let's just do a little bit of the head and back. And then the hardest thing for me, y'all, the hardest thing for me is the dang beak. And it's okay to erase. It's okay. You can erase. Okay. Oh, actually, I really like this Milan. See the triangle because of the shape of it, the way you can use the little edges. Um, or my other favorite is the same company as this, Statler, German company. They have the Mars plastic eraser, and that works great for their pencils. Okay, so I kind of have this going right here. And then, ooh, let's see, the beak is open. So we're just doing a little sketch like this, and then it comes back and goes like this. It may be a little hard for you to see this. I'll bring it up closer, or you can just go onto my favorite website for pulling imagery, and that's where I pulled the little owl because I have pictures of the owl, but I'm not sure where they are. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Florida Glass Girl said we can see. So for instance, for the owl here, what I did was I went out to, this was actually from Unsplash. So that's Unsplash. Um, and so I found this little guy. I'll either go to Pixabay or Unsplash, but this one came from Unsplash and it's so stinking cute. That's what they look like. They're so awesome. Um, so this one is called a painted bunting. If you want to look one up real quick and sort of follow along with what we're doing here. So I'm trying to hold the pencil so it's really loose, and that way my lines are not too hard, right? And I can see here this has a little too much of a curve to it. And now these are sketches. I'm not trying to do anything fancy here, so I'm not too worried about it being just right. So there's the eye. There's the open mouth, and we've got a little bit. So this is where the power of observation, the more you do this, the better you will get at observing, right? And then your hand will know better what to do. Okay, we're just doing little bitty bits here, and then it comes down. And oftentimes, as I'm doing this part, it may not be in balance. I may need to go down further or come up a little bit. So that's another reason why I like to just do the lines very light and then see where it goes from there. Okay, so we're coming across the back and down. Okay, we're almost there. I think that this part probably needs to go down a little bit further. So I'm just going to go like this. All right. And they do in this book suggest that you make they give you the tools to make the sketch. Oh, I like that this has like a big tummy to it. Okay, and this sort of comes up like this, and then we've got right below the eye and a little bit in front of the eye. Let's see, it kind of comes across. There's a little crest right across here, and then it's going to have a part of the wing. Okay, all right, wing. and then long wing, long part of the wing here. And then it comes up, and then we've got more wing that sort of comes down like this. So we're just sketching and having fun, right? This is not, we're not going to be too worried if it's not exact to what what they're showing here. Let's see. So this part comes up here, and then there's another little bit of the wing here. All right, good enough. Good enough. Although I can tell this is not coming over far enough. Or maybe the problem is this didn't come down far enough. Hey, you're seeing the real thing. This is what I do. I'm always sitting here adjusting, adjusting, adjusting. And hence why we need the wonderful invention of the eraser. Okay, that's better. That's better. That way, when the wing comes out here, the wing is more at the right place there. So the wings, it's interesting, the wings have different sections to them. And then we have a little bit of wing sticks out back here, up this way. So we're just putting a little bit of wing there. And then we've got the tail comes down this way and up and then like that. So we've got a tail and a little bit of the body. So this actually has to come back a little bit. All right, not bad, not bad. But this has to come over more now. It's got to start right about here. Okay, cool. So we've got the basic, let me bring it up closer for you. We've got the basic body right there. So you can see, I love the big fluffy chests when they have a big fluffy chest. I think it's so cool. Okay, and the eye, if you look here, there's like the eye within the eye sort of thing. So inside here, now I'm holding it more like a pencil, but I am going gently and I'm just sort of drawing the eye within the eye. Okay, there we go. Yay. And usually when I come back, like with watercolor, yes, you could put black watercolor in it, but I usually will use my micron pens to do that because I want that to be really, really black, you know? Okay, this actually is just a little bit rounder there. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because we're just sketching, right? We're sketching. We're not doing anything too fancy. All right, underneath here, we have a log coming or branch coming by. And then we've got a leg over here. We have a leg coming right here. And it goes over top of the branch. And then let's do this. And then we've got part of it comes over this way. Where's the other half of the leg? So just observe. And if you are out in nature and you can take a picture of these little ones, like use your zoom and get a nice picture, then then you can work off of your own photos like I did with the seagull. Okay, so the back leg is actually just, we need to do this. The log isn't quite in the right place. The log sort of has to come up here. I mean, the branch, because then we've got a foot that's coming out over here, and put that little hook on the foot, and then underneath you have a claw. Often you'll have a little claw coming out underneath. Okay, and so now I can bring this down like this. Oh, so that claw is not in the right place, is it? Because the claw is supposed to be on the other side of the log. Just do this. And the other claw comes here. Doop. Okay. We've got a claw, then we have this come in here. Oh, okay. We got it. We got it. And then the tree sort of comes up this way. And there's another branch that comes over this way. Okay, good. Good. We have our bunting. Hello, bunting. We have some legs, we have some fluff, we have some wings, we have a nice little beak, the eye. Ah, okay, that makes me very happy. Now, of course, they're going to take you through doing the color pencil. And we're gonna just do this one. It's on watercolor paper, so we're just gonna whip out some watercolors. Actually, there's a guy that I've been watching on Instagram, and he does super fat birds. So he will do the head, and then he will exaggerate the body and make it really big and bulbous, and just have so much fun with it. So, you don't have to be true to form. But we're just going to look at the colors here. We have purple on the head, red on the chest, green, like neon greenish yellow on the back. And we don't have to follow those colors, but because I'm doing these as initial sketches and I'm trying to get a feel for these various birds, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to sort of follow along with the picture here. And you can see right there what they've done. So let's get a little bit of watercolor. But remember, these are sketches, so you don't have to do it perfect. Doesn't have to be completely true to form. I'm just going to use a small, nope, I need a little bit bigger brush. So this is by Artify. It's a little squirrel brush size 0. So it's going to hold a lot of water and give me some really nice colors. I actually have a nice green right here already. So let's just pick up some of that green. And this is the Christy Rice set of watercolors. And what's really cool is the yellow that comes with her set is a neon yellow, which is really fun. So we're going to just throw some neon yellow in here, neon green, right? We're sketching, so it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just dropping in some color here. And what I like about it being a bird too is you can just go at the strokes can very much mimic the feathers. Okay, so that is pretty much where the green is along here. And I'm just looking, I going back and forth between the picture here and what I have. Let's do some of the, what other color do I want in there? Now I'm going to go a little bit darker and go right on top of there right now. So what I've done is her set has 12 colors. And in this travel case of Christy Rice's, there's room for you to put an extra color on each end. So I put an extra yellow here and an extra green over here. And then I just made myself a little color chart. But the other thing that I did was in the middle, you can put half pans. Your half pans will fit in the middle. So I put a whole additional row. So what is that? 7 and so it's 21, right? I did 21 colors in here. So let's get, this is Schminke Cologne Bridge Green is the name of this color. I love it. So let's just drop a little bit of that in there because it's slightly darker in some of the areas. There we go. Like especially the area right along where um the un the underside of those feathers would be. There we go, just like that. Sketchy, sketchy, right? This is, oh, I didn't start the timer. That's okay. We'll do a timer on the next one, right? Now, what else do we need here? We've got some, the red is just beautiful. And the red in the Christy Rice set is just gorgeous. So let me put some of the red out here. Nice. I want to have plenty of water on my brush there. So we've got a red throat right here. And then some red come in here. And let's bring the red like this. Sketchy sketch. Okay. Especially when you're just uh, exploring a subject before you're going to do any final paintings. Make yourself some sketches. Oftentimes people will call them thumbnail sketches, but this is bigger than a thumbnail, isn't it? So it is okay for you to um, try something like this. And I'm just using a big fluffy brush so that I can't, it prevents me from being too perfect in what I'm doing here. Let's just bring that down like that. There we go. So we've got a bunch of the red, and where else? Ooh, there's red on the back here. And then those feathers are going to be more blue, but we do just have some more red back in here. This bird has just gorgeous, like the scarlet reds and blues and greens, just stunning. Okay, cool. So we've got a little bit going there. There's actually a little bit of red up in here too, up in some of the feathers and down here. So I'm just putting some red on the feathers, and then I'm going to add some blue over top of it. Let me bring it up close to where I am now so you have an idea of where we are. And this is not going to be a finished artwork, it's a sketch. Okay. So we just want to get a feel for where the colors are. And you might do this same sketch several times and use different combinations of color or try your different watercolors or different methods. You might do watercolor with one and your Inktense with another to see, right, how they look. All right. Now the rest of this part of the head has a lot of blue in it. Um, there's, you know what? There's a slight bit of red, so I am going to put some red around, just around the eye and the face here. Okay, there's a little bit of red there. So lots of water. I did lots of water there. And then a little bit of red. Just a little bit of red in here. But then we're going to be adding blue to it. And I don't care if it runs. Okay. It's okay if it runs. That is just fine. So let's see. Blues. Ooh. So that's why I made myself a little color coding here so I can see what blues I have. This is the blue from the Christy Rice set. And this is the peacock blue from Holbein that I love a lot. I think I'm going to use Christy Rice's blue. So it is helpful to have your little color chart there. I'm going to put it here. Plenty of water. You can always go back and add more layers, right? You can always go back. All right. Oh, look how pretty. Pretty, pretty. And when the colors sort of mix between the blue and the red, then you get some purple coming up. And that's kind of the bunting. This bunting has a lot of a look of purple to it. Okay. So we've got some more of the blue down here coming in. There we go. Let me see. And just the nice thing about using a quill, this is called a quill brush. The nice thing about using a quill brush is that they hold a lot of water and a lot of paint, and then they generally have a nice tip. So if you're a little bit lighter on it, you can actually use the tip to your advantage there. All right, so I'm going to put a little bit more of the blue back up in here, right? I don't want to get rid of all of the red. I might want to put little hairs right there. That's some more of the blue, and there's actually some blue coming down in here. And if I want purple, so if I want to say, you know what, I'm going to define the shadows as a purple, then what do? I mix that blue with the red that I had here before, and now I have a purple, right? So let's just put the purple in the areas where there would be some shadow. Yee, just drop the shadow in there, right? We're having fun, we're relaxing, we're just being being relaxed, having a good time, exploring. But it's not, we don't have to, this is not a piece that we're gonna worry about selling for $1 million, right? All right, now I see a little bit of gray in the beak. So to get a gray, we can use this blue And then we can, well, we have a little Payne's gray right here. So we use a little Payne's gray and a little bit of, let's see, what do I want to use with it? A little bit of yellow, maybe. Payne's gray. Let's try a little bit of the yellow. Ooh, too much. We don't have a gray. What's going on? I'm just going to start dipping and we'll figure it out. This is what happens a lot on my palette. Okay, we have green. So the opposite of green is red. So let's dip into the red. And if you use the opposite colors on the color wheel, often you can get a dark brown or a gray. Okay, we're almost there. A little bit more of the Payne's gray. Okay, now we have a gray. Hallelujah. That's a green gray. Let's go a little bit more of the blue. I don't want a green gray. Okay, we're getting better. A little more red. Okay, there's a gray. Nice looking gray, actually. Okay, so we're just going to put a little bit of gray here in this area. And it actually looks like it's quite dark. And I may, if it's too much, you can just pick it up with your paper towel, a clean paper towel, if you don't want it to be so dark. Okay. And let me just, it's too green, too green. Stop. Okay, a little bit more red. Let's see if we can get that gray going. Yep. Okay. Red and green are opposite each other on the color wheel, so you can get a nice gray going with that. And of course, the people who wrote the book, the illustrator, is using pencils, so it's a lot easier for him to grab a gray pencil, right? Graphite or something, and make the beak out of that. So here we go, lifting more like that. And I think I want a really diluted gray up in here for the beak. Now, when that's dry, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to use the Micron pen and I'm going to define the beak a little bit better. I just wanted to put some of the grays in there. Okay, and put a little bit of gray along there. Right now, you're like, ooh, it looks like a hot mess, but that's okay. It's all for fun. And it's all a process. We get to learn. All right. So the tail, the back of the tail is kind of a purple. So we want to dip into that red again. And then we want to add a little bit more of this is the Payne's gray. So now we have like a darkish purple. And we're going to come here on the tail and we're going to bring up the darkish purple. Now, that's not very dark, but it's the beginnings. And we want sort of a darkish purple on the wing that's in the back. Now let's start defining some more of using that same purple here, defining the wing a little bit more, right? Because you can layer, layer, layer. All right. Now what I want to do is get a darker gray and put it in between the two right here. Oh, guess I have to dip into the Payne's gray. It's so dark. Payne's gray can be really, really dark. And so what I'm trying to do is differentiate between those two feathers right there. All right. And put a little bit of it over here because we've got a bit of a shadow in there, right? And what about over here? We're going to have a little bit of shadow in here, this area underneath, right? And a little bit of shadow sort of here. Just a little bit of shadow here. Lift it up. I don't want it to be too dark. When I do watercolor, I'm constantly laying down and pulling up and laying down and pulling up. Now, the area where the foot or the leg meets here is also a little bit extra dark. So I'm just adding a little bit of extra dark right in there. Let's see, the eye, there's a little bit of red around the eye. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of that red and just bring it right around, sort of around the eye. It sort of defines the eye before the black goes in there. Okay. And now the head, let me show you the head area. You see how this, when I put it down and it was a lot of water. So I was just getting a little bit of color in the background. Now that the color's already in the background, I can come back with a little more color on my brush and do a little more layering over top of that to get the feel for the feathers. Little teeny tiny feathers coming back this way. There we go. With the pencil, they're laying in those little pencil lines to kind of give you that feel of that. Okay, there we go. Good enough, good enough. It's actually quite dark here around the back of the eye. So let me grab a little bit more of the Payne's gray in there and just do this area. Again, I'm just flicking the end of that just to sort of give it a little bit of extra darkness around the eye. And it comes up here and it's a little darker this area too. Okay, good enough. Good enough. I like the big red belly. I think it's cute. Actually, let's add just a little more red into the belly right there. Because I'm choking up on the brush so that I can get that beautiful quill tip, and then I can flick it like this and kind of get a little bit more of that darker red over top of that background. And then it just looks, just to make it look a little more fluffy. There we go. Come on, fluffy bird. That's cute. Okay. And let's do now where the green is on the back. I just want to use a little bit more of that sort of crazy green, yellowish green, because right here on the back, the light is kind of shining on the back of the critter. So I'm just putting a little bit more right there where the light would be shining on these. Just like that. Like I said, that neon yellow that she has in her set is just really cool. Also, Holbein came out with a set of colors that I did a workshop a couple of weeks ago called their luminous colors. And the luminous colors are um, kind of neonish, and this brilliant yellow is in that set as well. Okay, let me work on right now down here. Let's first do the branch. So there's a nice brown that comes in the Christy Rice set. It's kind of an umber. Let's get that there. I want it to be a little bit darker, so I'm just mixing it with whatever I have here. Oh, too much, too much. What was that? Payne's gray can be a little overpowering. Okay, there we go. Payne's gray with that brown umber there gives us a dark, dark color. So let's do the branch here, a nice dark, dark brown. And then that way we can do the little feet, a little bit lighter color. We're not going for perfection though. This is just a sketch. Ooh, ba-doop. There we go. Another one goes down there, another part of the branch. Okay. Uh, Let me just get that right there, a little bit closer. Nice. So now look here, you've got the branch there with the little feet. And let's go into, we're going to do the eye last with the micron pen in just a minute. All right. Let's do the little legs. The little legs actually need kind of a lighter brown. So let's see. That's kind of a yellowy brown. Let's get a little bit more of the brown in there. Okay. That's sort of like almost looks like a chicken leg. There we go. I'll just put that in there just so we have a little something, something there. We have a little something, something underneath there. Okay. We have legs. And I'm going over top of the blue that's up here so that we can see where the leg comes from. Okay, easy peasy. We're just relaxing and having fun and sketching. Nothing too crazy. I want to make the bottom of this part of the wing a little bit darker, right? Because what you'll find is when you first put colors in and you let them dry, they're going to get lighter. So with watercolor, often with acrylics, if you're working with acrylics, when they dry, a lot of times they become darker. So it's a little different. This is watercolors will get lighter. And so since this area right here down at the bottom of the wing got lighter, I want to bring a kind of a purple in on that. So I've got a dark purple that I added over here called dioxazine purple, or I've got the purple that came in the Christy Rice set right here, which is a nice sort of almost a mid-tone purple. Let's try the Christy Rice purple first. Let's see this one. See, the Christy Rice purple is good, but it's not as dark. So if I put it in here, let's see what it does. It's okay, but it's not as dark. That's why I added to my palette this dioxazine purple, because the dioxazine purple is a lot darker. It'll get a lot darker. It helps to have some dark, dark, dark. So I added to, I ran out of room here in the middle. So over here, there are little wells, and I added dioxazine purple, ultramarine blue, and black. And so those three are my darkest darks over here. There, that way it's a little bit dark, dark, dark. And that's what I wanted, something a little bit darker just to go along the wings here and sort of up into here. So I get some definition on the edge of the wings like this, the different sections, and of course the definition underneath here. And then another reason why I was looking at that is because this wing back here, it's almost too light. You kind of lose it. So I'm going to not quite as dark as the front. I added a little bit of water, but I do still want to come in and add a little bit darker there. There, now it shows up a little bit more. And then we're going to add a little bit darker here and a little bit darker here, so that we just have some variation in the tail. Now, normally, if I were doing like I were doing a full painting and I wanted to get it closer to nature, I would spend a lot more time. But we're not doing that. We're having fun and we're sketching. So I'm good on that. I'm good. I'm good. I think I'm good on everything except I just need to come back in with black, define the eye and define around here, and possibly define the edge of the wing. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Let's do it. Let's do it. So this is the Pigma Micron pen. It is better to wait until the paint is dry before you use this on top of the watercolor, because otherwise it can leach color out of the tip and then it may not fill it back up again. Inside here is a piece of felt, and then the ink is embedded in the felt. And so if you get too much paint or water on the tip, sometimes it can stop the capillary action that pulls the ink out of the felt for you. So here we're gonna, when you do the eye, you want to leave a little spot. You don't have to, because you could come back with white, but I like to try to preserve that white spot first. Hey, stay home to shop. Bee! Let's see. Happy Easter to you as well. What image website did you mention with Pixabay? The other website that I mentioned is Unsplash, and that is sponsored by Unsplash is a website from Squarespace. So, for instance, when I'm in my Squarespace website, because I use Squarespace for my website, when I'm in my Squarespace website, I can pull in um, pictures from Unsplash. So they make that whole catalog available to you if you have a Squarespace website, and you are quite welcome. I'm glad you asked. So I've got the blackest black. And you don't have to use the blackest black. I have so many different kinds of markers with so many different colors, but right now we're going to use the my favorite microns. So this is the graphic, which is a little bit larger tip, and it comes in all different kinds of tip sizes. So here's a little bit smaller tip, and then here's the smallest tip right here. Teeny, teeny, tiny tip right there, just depending on what kind of detail you want. But right now, I don't want too much detail, so I'm going to go around the eye like this, and then I'm going to preserve that little white spot, and I'm going to fill in the rest of the eye right here with a pen because it's so much easier. Hello, eye. There we go. We got some personality going. I like it. I like it. There we go. Right? Yay! And then now that beak, I can even see that in their picture here, they went really heavy in certain areas on the beak with black as well. They would have been using likely a black pencil, but I'm just gonna lightly go along here so that we just get the feel for what it is that we're doing here. And I'm just doing little strokes right there. And I think I'll bring it in here. It can't hurt to have a little definition on the beak there. There we go. That helps a lot. All right. So there is a sketch. Um, how long did that take? Maybe 20, 25 minutes, something like that. Um, and so that's kind of the idea when I want to get to know, if I want to get to know a subject before doing a sort of final version, I do sketches like this. I do the smaller sketches, well, the bigger sketch, and then I might go down to a smaller sketch um, before trying to do it on something like this, like an artist trade card, right? Because these are tiny. Um, oh, that was fun. That was fun. So let me see. I have a little bit of watercolor on my paper right here. So this is a special brush called Willow's Blender from the Princeton Velvet Touch line, and it has short, stiff bristles, and it is perfect for watercoloring when you need to scrub your paper a little bit to like scrub up the color. Don't scrub too hard because you don't want the paper ripping, but it does work to sort of lift up some of the color. Doesn't always work, but it can. There we go. All right, that was fun. The bunting. I didn't even know I was going to get this super colorful bird to start with. Love it. All right. So next we're going to do, let's see, let's see. I'm looking. Boo, 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 boo. Let me think here. Let me think. I'm thinking we'll do on the 5x7. Let's get ourselves one of the 5x7s from that big set that I had there. So let's get one of the 5x7s. And then I want to do the what are they called? The Inktense. I want to work with the Inktense on the 5x7. But I'm going to start with I mean I could sketch with the Inktense. Let me show you before I do it on here um, how the Inktense work. So I did show you the swatches earlier, but you notice that they're broken, right? I break them so that I can use them on their side to cover an area. So let's say, for instance, let's use this bright green color. Let's say I want to put a background over here and I want it to be like bright green down here. So that's why I break these up into little pieces so that I can do this, right? And cover an area. Can you see that right there? So I'm covering the area with the bright green. And then let's say this sort of the blue, but I'm going to keep it really light. So I'm barely going to put any down. I'm using it on its side. I'm going to put some atmosphere in here, right? And you're like, well, that doesn't look like much, does it? That does not look like much. But that's the beauty of the Derwent Inktense. Now you come in with your water. Ooh, I need a bigger brush than this. I need a bigger brush than that. So let me find a bigger brush, bigger brush. Which one do I want to use here? Okay, so this one is 3/4 inch from Master's Touch. And let's do this right here. So it's nice and wet. And now what you're going to see is that the marks, you still get a little bit of the where you scratched, there'll be color left there, but you also, unless depending on your paper and how much you scrub it, generally you do have a little bit of the line left, but this way I can get a nice, you see how there's a little interest in the sky that way? And it'll be the same down here. There'll be a little interest down in the bottom. And I could make that super dark, but in this case, I'm looking for atmosphere. So here I'm doing this one, and it's just water. I'm just putting water on it. We'll go over here, and it just turns into this really cool melty water. Now, what they say about the Derwent is that they say that once they're dry, they're permanent. Um, I say it depends on the surface that you're working on because I've had instances where I got it wet and then I went back and it was still able to be lifted with water. So it just depends on the paper you're working on, how thickly you apply it, how much water you put on it. Okay. But the claim is that when you use Inktense, you activate it with water, it then when it's dry becomes permanent. Okay. But isn't that cool? Look at that. How you can like create a really neat atmosphere. But let's actually do a bird using these paints. So we're going to work on this 5x7. We're going to sketchy sketch to start. Why don't we actually use these to sketch with? So, what bird am I doing? Okay. Oh, that one's a little boring. I want something with more color. Come on, come on. Keep flipping till I get color. Ooh, that one's pretty. That's the North American robin. Do we do the robin? I guess we do the robin. Okay, so it has this beautiful orange belly as well as an orange beak. There's a lot of black up here, but we can make that brown, right? Because we can do whatever we want since we're sketching. Uh, and here's the initial sketch that they give you in this book. That's why I said identify and draw North American birds. Actually, my dear artist friend, um, when I told her about this book, she went out and she bought it right away. And she was like, oh my gosh, that is such a good book. Yeah, so we're going to sort of follow along kind of with this right here. Let's see if we can do that again. And instead of using a pencil, I'm going to use these blocks now. Just so you know, the Inktense also comes in pencils. Let me see. I have a bunch of Derwent products over here. Do I have one? That's the Graphy Tint, Graphy Tint. Come on, there's one. So this is what the pencils look like. It says Derwent Inktense on it, and it has a little brush. That means it's water soluble. This is actually the Indian ink, which means this is kind of a black. So you can use your pencils, Inktense pencils, and then follow up with your blocks, or just use the blocks. Let's see. Let's see how I get along with the blocks. This is kind of a Payne's gray here. And sometimes you want to break them so you can use the corners here. But now this is not so easy to erase. Actually, let's use the pencil. Let me find just a scrappy page here like this. Let's use the pencil and then see if we can erase it. Not so much. Okay. So you see how it leaves stuff behind when you use a pencil? I was afraid of that. Okay, here we go. So there, we're going to make some marks and we're not going to be able to go back. Some of them. Okay, so this is that beautiful new 5x7 paper that I got. It's smoother on one side, rougher on the other. I love that. So you can choose which side you want to work on. Which side do I want to work on? Let's work on the rougher side just for the heck of it. Now, I don't want to do the beak. Remember how I said I like to usually start with the head and I kind of get an idea of where I want the bird to be, like right here. So the tail's going to be over here, the head up here, and the beak over here. So I'm going to start with this darker color and I'm just barely holding it because I'm nervous. I'm nervous since I'm making marks and I can't go back. Eek. Okay, so the head coming up and then it's coming down like this. I'm looking at the picture. So this is an American robin in case you want to look up a picture of what the robin looks like. And then it's coming down, and then we'll have like the end of the tail over here. Okay. Ah! How'd I do? How'd I do? All right. This comes back a little bit, and then it comes around about like that. And the eye is up here. So I'm just going to give myself an idea of where the eye is. Ooh, I'm going to use the pencil for that. That might work a little bit better. A little bit better for where I put the eye. Okay, like that. And then what do we have? We've got the neck comes down like this. This better be right. Living dangerously, right? Okay, so we've got an air. It doesn't look right yet because we haven't put the beak on it, so it looks kind of funky. But like I said, I usually like to start with the head and the beak. Let me see if I have an orange. All right, I do have an orange. It is a Caran d'Ache water soluble, so I'll just use that one. What the heck? I could use this, but it's a little bit clunky, so I'm going to use a um, water soluble pencil instead. Okay, the beak comes out. The beak is actually nice and it's kind of nice and long. Okay, and then it sort of comes also just from here. Oof. And I think this is going to be just a little bit more like that. Okay. Woo! I did it. I did it. Now, the interesting thing here is that this comes like it is. Okay, we've got that. And we've got an area around here where it comes like this. And then the chest, the chest. Now the chest is all orange, so I'm not going to do the chest with this, right? But there is a wing over here. The back of the tail, the back of the tail comes along and sort of up and over, like up this way just a little bit. And this comes like this, and we've got wings. We have a little bit of a wing, little bit of a sort of this color wing right here. That tail's going to have to come out just a little bit more, right? Oh my gosh, it's almost already looking like a seagull, but that's okay. I'll make it work. I'll make it work. Ah, this comes out just a little bit. So it does help to have the pencils. Yes, I have a whole set of like 24 of the pencils, as well as the blocks, as well as they make something called an XL, which are big, huge, chunky ones that you use when you're working on big pieces of paper. Okay. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to use it on its side just gently, so I can put a little bit of the fuzziness of the uh, the feathers in here. And then, okay, so I can see that right here, a little bit got, you see how a little bit got over the edge? But what did I say? I'm going to do it very gently, right? And the reason is because you can come back in with a kneaded eraser. With anytime you're using any sort of um, like pastel or these chalky sticks, you can come in with a kneaded eraser. And oftentimes, if you've used a light touch, you can pick up the stuff that's along the edges. So let's pick this up. Let's see. With a kneaded eraser, you pick a little bit up and then you knead it. So here, okay, well, it picked some of it up. Didn't pick it all up, but it picked some of it up. Okay, good enough. Good enough. All right, we're almost there. We're almost there. Let's do the orange for the chest here. Oh, the chest is so pretty. So the chest comes down here. Let me see. We're at the back end here. This is all orange over here. And it actually comes down and sort of across a little bit. And then you get the little robin redbreast, right? Isn't that what they call it? Robin redbreast. Yes. So then we've got some of this orange. And again, I'm lightly putting the orange in. And you don't need a lot because this is what they call Inktense, right? So super intense color. And actually I can see that this needs to come orange up a little bit higher here. So I'm just putting it right over top of where I had the black. That's okay. Okay. There we go. Nice. So now we've got just and the magic comes when you put water on it. That's when the magic comes. Now we do need to put their little feet here. So of course I didn't account for that at the bottom of the paper here, but we'll make it work. Let's make it work. One of the feet comes from back here, sort of like this, and comes over this way. Maybe because they're at a steep angle, I can go ahead and, make it work, right? I can make it work, but this is definitely where the pencils come in handy. Okay, cool. Like that. And then there's another one, and that's way back here. And then there's they have like a little elbow back here. So this should come like this and then up like that. They have this funny little elbow, back elbow. Okay, cool. And then one goes here. And then let's bring this down just like this. And we have one that goes back behind, another one that comes here, and another one that sticks out here like this. Oh, with a big, okay, there we go. So there's kind of the birdie. There's another little bit over here sticking out. Okay. Not bad, not bad. So we're using the ink tent, we're using water soluble, right? Stuff. Actually, I can see the cool thing is on the beak, there's a little bit of red. So I'm taking the red. There's a little bit of red right along here. I'm just adding it gently. And then there's a little bit more of the orange over here. Just putting a little bit of the orange in. Eeh. And then there's a tiny bit of dark right on the end right here, right on the end of the, all right, there we go. So we've got our sketch in. Now the moment of truth where we add some water and we see what happens. So again, there's what it looks like, the American robin red breast. In this case, we have an orange breast. What brush do I want to use? I can actually use this squirrel. I'm going to move these out of the way because I don't want them to get water dripped on them. Oh, another way that people use these, by the way, let's say I needed to do some details. So here's a little teeny tiny detail brush. I can take the detail brush and I can go right on the block like this because it's water soluble. And then I can use that and I can just add it. I'm going to show you here in just a second. You'll be like, whoa, that is amazing. So if I do need to get some detail, can you see where the paint is right there? So you can literally just pick the paint up from here with your little brushes. All right. It's just someone had mentioned with the XLs, which are the bigger chunks, like it'll say a color number or a color name on one side. So you want to flip it over to the other side if you're using a brush right directly on these, so that way you're not messing up the color number, so you know what your colors are. Okay, so here we go again. I'm going to start with the oranges because I don't want the black invading my brush yet. Oh, it's so pretty, y'all. It is so pretty. Remember, I love the quill brush because of that snappy that little tip right there. Another brush that I love this is actually a soft tip, but the brush that I love for a snappy tip, do I have them here? Yeah, this kind, which is the Velvet Touch Princeton rounds, have a very snappy tip. Those are great for this too. Okay. Oh, you see that beautiful orange? Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I'm just wiping over top of that. And now I'm going into the area where there's a little bit of black. So there'll be a little bit of blending of the black and the orange. That's okay, right? Okay, before I do the full on black, I'm going to go up into the beak. So let's see what we get with the beak. I'm just going over the orange part first, right there. And then I'm going to blend in a little bit of that red. Oh, that red is so pretty. Yep, but I need a little bit more of the orange. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to grab a little bit of orange on the tip right here for when you want to do your little details there. Okay, cool. Love it. Okay, not bad. Not bad. For just sketching and experimenting, right? Let's go in now to the black. The black, this is not the darkest black. There are two blacks in this particular set that I have. And this set is so old, y'all. They may have even changed the colors that are in here. So I've got a warm black and a cool black at the bottom here. The warm black has a little bit of a brown undertone. So let me show you. You see the brown undertone there? So that's good. Perfect for something like this. Okay, so I just have a wet brush and I'm wiping the wet brush over the area where I put the Derwent Inktense blocks and around the eye, right? And over the back of the head and then down here for the feathers. You can always come back in with a pencil like this Derwent pencil as well to get the full definition. I'll show you that in just a minute. Okay, so we're just giving ourselves a sort of an outline, right? And we're stroking in the direction that the feathers would go. Okay, nice. Fun. Oh my gosh, so much fun. And then down underneath the robin, what you're going to notice is, first of all, it's very dark over here. So I am going to need to put a brown or something in that area. And then right here on the back end, there's a little bit of white underneath there. Can you see that little bit of white underneath it? Um, that's why I didn't fully cover this area with the chalk. I just put part of it in there because I want to just preserve a little bit of that, little bit of the white, and just sort of give it the feel of it. And then here is the tail at the end. Hello, tail, going all the way off the end because I didn't calculate it right. Okay, let's see if there's a brown. Now, there's this brown right here. So let's start with that one. Let's start with that brown to give us a shadow because there was a shadow in this area all the way down like this. Again, I'm using it on its side, right? You could use the ends if you wanted to be a little more, um, dig into the paper a little bit more. Let's see. So just wet, just wet, just water, just water. Of course, you could be doing this with your watercolors as well. I just thought it'd be fun to use the Inktense blocks because I do like the Inktense blocks. Okay, not dark enough for me. So I'm actually going to use some of this warm brown. And this is still wet. So you can even come back in while it's still wet. And then what happens is the lines are a little bit more dark that way. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna add some water here and be able to, yes, there we go. So that gives us a little bit more of a shadow going on there, right? A little more shadowy. Plus, we want where the wing matches that cutie patootie little chest there. We want it to be that much darker, just to sort of give us a definition of a shadow right underneath the wing. There we go. So we're just sketching and we're having fun. We're not trying to, make make a masterpiece. We're just having a good time. Let's see now down here for the legs. I'm going to use, I'm just wiping right on here. I'm going to use that brown. Now, see, I use this brown and I can come over here and I can use a little bit of the black brown, right? I can combine them together on the brush. And then let's do the little leg. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is like too dark. So what happens when it's too dark? You just take your damp paper towel, right? That's like perfect. Good, 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 good. Plus, I've got some, I've already got some pencil here. So as I get the pencil wet, the pencil is wanting to darken it even more, right? So let's do that. Lift it so it's not quite so dark. Same here. All right, cool. It's not quite as dark there. Let's get it a little darker. Nice. We've got the features. I'm going to lift a little bit more. I want to make sure that where I lifted it before, I'm not putting it back down again, because otherwise it'll give an imprint. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. This is a cutie. I feel like the orange up here is a little too much on the beak. So I'm using that Willow's blender. I'm going to see if I can pull a little bit of the color off on the top. I might not be able to. It depends on how dry it is, right? Okay. I'm able to pull a little bit off of there. So the top is a little bit lighter, just that little bit. All right. Now let's go back to the picture. Oh, there's a little bit of white around the eye. Good. I'm glad I left a little bit of that. Not bad, not bad. And let's do the eye. Now, how am I going to do the eye? I think I'm going to do the eye this time with that detail brush I showed you. So this is a Famui detail brush. They have a whole set. I think it comes in a set of 10 or 15. And but you can see these teeny tiny little tips. So if I want to do the eye, I'm going to go into that black, that dark one. So if you weren't here earlier, this is the Inktense blocks. They are water soluble. They go on kind of like a dry pastel, but then you can get them wet and then they act more like a paint. So let's put the eye in here. Oh, hello. Hello, hello, hello. I love when you put the eye in. And see, having a little detail brush helps with that too. Okay, there we go. So now there's, from there, let me add just a little bit of water because I want it to be just slightly lighter, because there's usually like a little line from there up to where the beak is. So I'm just putting little teeny tiny marks around the beak, kind of like where there would be little feathers around the beak there, and the eye. And the eye kind of comes back this way as well. There's like a little area back here. So I'll just do that and a little bit of white around it. And there's some of the pencil marks around there. So I'm just, with a little bit of water on there, I'm just going around and defining those pencil marks too. Little hairs. Okay. I find that when you add the eye, it sort of brings it all to life, right? Now, another thing I like to do with the little tiny detail brushes is I like to put the little claws on them. So even though the rest of this is very loose, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to add like a little claw on here and a little claw. Why not? Right? Just, we're having fun. We're adding little claws like that. This one kind of comes like this. This one is over there. This one is over there. There we go. So we have little dark claws on the ends there for the heck of it. Okay, let's get most of the color off of this little detail brush, but just enough so I can come here on the end, because I do want to define the end of that beak. Okay, so that was fun. And that was using a little bit different medium, right? Now I can see there's some of the black and some of the orange here that has not gotten wet. So I'm just going to get them a little bit wet so that the color will go into there. Okay, nice. So that is your robin, your red, or in this case, orange breasted robin, right? Now, what they show here, it's quite a bit darker right here, but you can always go back. This is a sketch. I could go back to the sketch later and put more layers on it, right? It's awesome. Okay, now let's look at I want to go on the black surface, right? And we're going to do the seagull on the black surface. So this is the seagull that I took the pictures of. Ah, such a cutie. I love these clouds. See how there's like gray and blue in the clouds back here? So I thought we would use this one because I have both of these pictures on my website, and I'll put them as a post, a community post on YouTube. Um, so you can see, I'm thinking of doing this one, but with this cloud, these clouds in the background. You see how this seagull, he's got that angle there, where this seagull is quite a bit more streamlined, like when they fly. I'm going to put these away. This is the Derwent that I have so much fun with. Love the Inktense blocks for something different. And we're going to work now with we're going to try the black paper, and we're going to work with the Pentels oil pastels, because oil pastels will sit on top of that black paper. So cool. Let's what's nice is it came with this cover to protect them. So you can take the cover off. Hey, let's put that right there. Let's move these aside. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the gravy white um, acrylic marker. And I'm going to use this. It has a little, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's got a little ball on the inside. And this is great on dark colors. So, and these are the extra Paul Rubens. If I need more white, I'll just keep that handy for myself. Ooh, there are those colors right there. So we actually, with oil pastels, you don't need the water anymore. So I'm just going to set the water aside over here so I don't knock it over. It's out of the way. And here we've got the Claire Fontaine black mixed media paper. So I'm going to do it in this direction. And I'm going to use the gravy white. Let me show you on the back. This is a pump marker. So you sometimes you have to pump it to get the ink to flow or the acrylic paint to flow. Isn't that gorgeous on the dark? Ah, it looks good on your grays, your sand colored paper, your burgundy papers, any of your like really fun um, tending toward darker shades because it just is so white. That's why I'm all about this right now because it is so white. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw this little guy and then we're going to put some clouds in the background. Okay, for fun. So he's on a pole, he or she, I don't know. And so let's put the pole. I want to move the pole a little bit. Okay, we're going to do the pole like right here. And this is flat. And then here, it's just got this slight edge to it right there. Okay. And then, again, this is something that I'm sketching. I'm sketching, y'all. I can't fix it. So if I screw it up, oh well. It's gonna be wonky, right? Don't worry about it. We are having fun and we are sketching. So let me get their little this. I'm gonna start with the leg here. So we've got one leg that comes up the back. And they have these funny little bulbous parts right here on their little legs. It's like kind of bulbous. It's a like our ankles, right? Okay. And then it doesn't matter that I put that on the top because we're just going to cover it over with, I mean, we're using oil pastels. I don't even, it's like so thin. I don't even have to worry about it. Okay. So this comes here and we've got another big ankle there or big knee. And then it comes down and we've got this part right here. And it comes up like this. Okay. There's the birdie, right? And then this is going to come down here. Easy peasy. And now we have to do the rest of the bird. This is a challenge. And doing the lots of these sketches. Oh, do I want to time myself? Let's time the sketch. Okay, let's see. Let's see. No more than 10 minutes for the sketch. I already started. I know. Let's give myself 9 minutes then. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. Now I think you'll find that when you're under a time crunch, that you, I don't know. I actually do better like when I'm under a time crunch myself. That's why deadlines are good. Okay. Okay. So there are the legs. We're coming over here. We need to come up here. Oh my gosh, there's the bird. And then we've got the, all right, cool. And then this kind of comes up like this, and then over, up and over, up and over. Interesting thing is this comes, there's like a little thing right here. Okay. And then from here, we've got the head. The head's rather sleek on the seagulls, isn't it? Okay, let's see. How am I doing? How am I doing? I don't know. Let's see. This actually is kind of a shoulder right here. There's a shoulder that comes out and over like this. Okay, comes down. Almost got it. The head needs to be a little bit bigger, I think, but that's okay because we're going to be going over it with oil pastel. So it doesn't matter if I have some of this underneath it. That's the trick. Okay, so we've got a wing that comes in here, comes in along here like this, and up along here, and comes sort of around there. Okay, it almost looks like a I don't know, some other sort of bird with this funky. It's all right. It's all right. But I just love that there's this big old long sort of tail out here. And then this comes like this. And then there's another one that comes underneath here. It's a little bit bigger. And there's another one right here. Okay. It's a seagull, y'all. Although I'm looking at it and I'm like, no, 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 this needs to be higher. But that's okay. I'm going to just sort of, right? Because I'm going to be going over top of this with the oil pastel. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a correction here like that because this uh, creature is a little bit more. Okay. And this just comes like this a little bit more. It's okay to be sketchy, 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 sketchy. Let's get that down there. And that's okay that way. Yeah, I had to thicken that right there for that wing. And then the head is going to have to come up a little bit more and out a little bit more. But that's okay because we're just going to cover that over. Okay, let's, well, I didn't leave myself much room for the clouds, did I? I might have to have some clouds over here. Let's see what happens. Okay. And you know what? We don't have to do it just these colors either. I can do whatever colors I want. So um, I've got the image of the seagull in front of me. And if you want the image of the seagull, you can grab it on my website, Dietz Art, DIETZART.com. And it'll be under the events tab for tonight's event. I'm trying to get it so that you can kind of see the seagull in the picture. Um, okay. Why don't we make this seagull sort of colorful? We don't have to make it just gray, right? So I'm gonna, this is a purple and or a dark blue. And the nice thing, like I said, the nice thing about these oil pastels, well, if I wanted to cover that over, I would go with white first, like this, and then whatever color I put over top of it, it will just blend right in with it. There we go. Duke. So we've got the white over top of the white. Nice. Now we can just put whatever colors we want over top of it. So these pentels are a little bit what we call hard. Um, a lot of other types of oil pastels are softer. But what I like about the these pentels is the size. See how they're kind of skinny? Most of my other oil pastels, hold on, let me move these birds out of the way. Um, a lot of my other oil pastels are like this. They're a little fatter. So for instance, this Van Gogh, see how fat the Van Gogh is? And um, what's another one? This is a Holbein right here. It's a lot fatter. I have lots of the Van Goghs. I like the Van Goghs a lot. There's some mungyo in here. This is a mungyo, but again, it's fatter. Let me show you next to this one. Eat, hold on, y'all. So next to this, you see the size difference? So this is the mungyo oil pastel and the pentel. So if I'm working on a smaller piece, I like I like these pentel, but they don't have all the light fastness and everything that a, you know, a fine art oil pastel would have, but I'm not too worried about that, especially not when you're sketching, right? All right, I'm going to leave a little area here for the eye, right? Because I got to have an eye. And it's already, the paper's already black. So I'm putting down some white so I can put other colors over top of it. Uh, let's do I'm doing the white over top of the white line to kind of get rid of the white lines there. Okay. Oh, he's so cute. Now that beak is black, but of course we already have black, so we want to use a gray. We want to use a gray on the beak, at least on the outline of it. Now, I'm going to turn this on its side so that I can use like an edge here. And then with the edge, I can go over that. Oh, look, see, I finished the sketch in less than less than 9 minutes. There we go. You can also time yourself when you're actually doing the artwork too. If you want to, let's say you want to make 10 sketches in an hour, then you give yourself 6 minutes per sketch, right? Or you start out with more time, and as you go further along in your hour, you give yourself less time, right? That's fun. Okay, so there's kind of a silvery gray. What else? I'm going to put some brown on this little one just to do it. So I'm going to say that the chest is like this sort of light brownish. And we're doing a sketch, so I don't even have to cover the whole area if I don't want to, right? So let me just start out with this sort of tan, and then I'm going to go. I usually will start out with a lighter color and then add more darker colors on top of it. So let's go with another little bit darker color here. And I want much darker when I'm underneath the wing, because under the wing, we're going to have a sort of a shadow, right? There should be a kind of a shadow under the wing. So I'm starting out with this sort of brown under the wing. The nice thing also about oil pastels is you can go in with your fingers and you can sort of blend them. Now these are hard. These Pentel oil pastels are a little harder, so they're not as creamy. They don't move around as well. Let me put some, might as well put some brown down here, right? Oh, that's so pretty. Oof. Okay, for that. Now I'm putting in a darker color and not filling it too much. And then I'm going to come in with some lighter. Okay, so let's go a little bit lighter here. And then so that we can sort of get a little bit of maybe wood grain going. You can layer oil pastels. We're doing a sketch though, so I'm not gonna see with Pentels, you can do quickie sketches and do one or two layers, and they don't lend themselves to doing lots and lots of layers. Normally I do my underlayer with a hard pastel like the Pentel, and then I'll use creamier ones on top. Let's see if I have a creamier one, like the Mungyo is a creamier one. What's a good color? What's a good color here? Both of these are kind of fun. Let's see. So, oh, mine are old. That's kind of old. So it's actually not that creamy anymore. Oh well. That's okay. Remember I mentioned earlier there's a blending stick. So this happens to be the Sennelier blending stick. And if I wanted to blend colors together, I can put the blending stick here, and that helps to just make everything a little mushy, and it helps it to blend together. Now I'm using a paper towel here to kind of wipe off some of that, and let's put this sort of lighter color on there just to help it sort of blend. Now that I have the blending medium on there, I'm not getting the streakiness that I was looking for earlier, but that's okay. You just, this is all about experimentation. Okay, let's go with maybe a really light color. Is that a good one? No, this is an unusual color here. They call it yellow gray, and I find it works really well in a lot of situations where I was surprised that it works so well. Okay, so there's some yellow gray. That gives it a little bit of what looks like a little bit of texture. And then you see how the other color is all over there. So before I put it away, I wipe it off. Okay, come on, seagull. See, it's looking like um, it should come down here just a little bit more. Like let's get a fluffier chest on it. All right, cool. And then we go a little bit darker. So I'm going to just bring a little bit of darker in here for underneath, right? Just have fun. This is about sketching and having fun. What about those little legs? I'm going to make the little legs a kind of a bright yellow. Why not? Just for the fun of it. Now, because we're working on black, the bright yellow is not so bright. So if I want, let me try with the back leg, but I'm going to put the white on first. So let's put the white on the back leg right here, and then let's see what happens. So I'm going to put some white over top of that yellow and see if I can get it to come up a little bit more yellow, right? There's the white, here's the yellow. Right. We can still kind of see the black through it, but that's okay because I'm choosing to work on black. Now, I went over the line there a little bit, which is generally not a big deal when you're sketching, but I wanted to let you know that with oil pastel, you can use a blade and you can generally just go right back over top of it and lift that area up where you went over because the oil pastel kind of sits on top of the paper. So you can just go in with a blade and clean up the edges if that's what you want to do. Now, another thing that I like to do with oil pastel is scratching into it. So if I want the leg to look like it has little marks on it, I can scratch out some of the oil pastel, and then you're going to see the black, right, come back through. So give me just a second here, and I'll do a little bit of this, and then you can see what I'm talking about. It's awesome. I love that effect where you can scrape back into it. There we go. Scratch back. I'm just wondering if any of the watchers right now, if you have oil pastels at home and if you're trying this, if you're having a little bit of fun here. Okay, so look at the legs. You see how the black is showing through and you've got like the little tracks on the legs, right? It is so cool. That's another reason for working on like a black or a dark paper. Okay. So we've got the legs, we've got a little bit of stuff going on. Maybe now that I'm scraping, what if I scrape a little bit of, hold on, hold on. Is there another scraping tool there? Maybe with, this is a little teeny tiny screwdriver. Let's see if I use the little screwdriver here. I just sort of pull down. Yes. Oh, cool. Okay. I am pulling some of it off and it gives it sort of a wood look. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Because I've got the dark coming underneath. Hee hee hee. All right, y'all. I am just having too much fun right now. Let's see. Nice. It just sort of gives you the feel of wood when you pull back. You see that right there? I'm just pulling off some of the pentel that's on there. Hee hee. Okay. So it helps to have little scraping tools when you're working with oil pastels. All right, what a cutie. This is a cutie. What else do we want on the, let's do another gray over here. I'm just gonna give them a gray uh, beak right here, right? There we go. Gray beak for my seagull. Okay. And then the wing, see, it's all like grays and blacks, but I don't want that. I want something a little more colorful. So, all right, y'all, I think I'm gonna go a little crazy. I'm gonna put some pink on there just for the heck of it, right? Because this is playtime and we don't have to do what the picture shows, do we? There we go. There's some pink. Notice the pink it looks very dark, although it doesn't look dark here, and that's because what? The background's black. Okay, let's clean that off a little bit. And then let me go underneath here with something that's a little bit, I can't use black, no black, but if I go ahead and I put some white down like this, and then I use some black, then I'll get a gray, right? I'm just very lightly touching with the black so that I can get myself like sort of a gray in there. A little shadowy shadow. Okay. And then I want to do a little bit of a darker shadow along here. Okay, what happens if I put I put the shadow down and then I go, oh my gosh, I don't like it. Duh. Then I just take this and I scrape it off. And that way I can have less of the black on there. Nice. I just go, oh, that was too much. Then I just scrape it back, right? I love that about oil pastels. Let me see if there's something else I can do with the wing from what I have over in my other box. All right. I have this incredible, this is the Van Gogh, and it's kind of a neon pink. It's crazy looking. Let's see if, let's say the sun is shining on the back. And so I want this part to be like super pink. Why? Just because I have pink nails today, right? So let's just layer the pink over the white for the heck of it. Okay. Because we're just sketching and having fun, right? All right. I like the direction it's going in. Not bad. Let's go with some more blues. Actually, I need the blue for the clouds. What about, what are you doing there? These need to be moved around a little bit. There, it goes there. What else do I want to put on the wing? What else? What else? I'm watching your comments to see if there's anything in particular you're like, put this on there, put that on there. We'll see. Um, okay. So what else do I want on the wing there? Maybe I'll come in with this sort of, I don't know what the, does it say pale vermilion? Look at that. I never even knew they put the colors right on there. There it is right there. Okay. So I'm just layering this right over top of what I had there before, just for the heck of it. Okay. You'll find that at a certain point, the tooth of the paper cannot take any more of your oil pastel. So you'll get to a point where you won't be able to continue to load layers on. And it depends on the brand of oil pastel that you're using and the paper that you're using when that happens. Okay, so I'm just saying, you know what? I'm going to take a little bit of this vermilion. I'm going to put it on the chest here. I'm going to put a little bit of it on the head to kind of tie in the body and that wing, right? Okay. Okay. That's fun. What are we going to do for the eye? The eye, the eye, the eye. So we've got the black space there, but we're going to need to put like a dot on the eye, right? To give the eye a little bit of life. So I'm just going to use the acrylic here and let's put like a little spot here. Oftentimes you'll find more than one spot on the eye. So you see the little spots on the eye there. And if you don't like it, the spots, you can just cover it up with another color, right? Okay. So let's do the clouds. Oh, you know what? There are little bitty bits on there. So that often happens when you're working with oil pastels that you get little pieces. And so what you can do, I showed earlier that you could pick up the dry pastel with the kneaded eraser, right? You can also pick up the bits here with the kneaded eraser. So let's see if there are bits here that I want to pick up and a little bit right there. The other thing I do is I'll take it and I go over top of my trash bin and I just do this at the trash bin, and that also helps to get the little bits off. But here you're going to have to make sure that you're constantly turning um, your eraser, because you see the color that's on the edge of the eraser there. And if I take that and I put it down, I may get some pink in an area where I didn't want it. Okay, so there we go. And then now let's say that I want to define this beak a little bit more. Then you can use a pencil to do that. It helps if you have a pencil that is oil based. So, for instance, the Prismacolor pencils will do that. And I'm just looking to see if I have one that's here that's oil based. I I have the Prismacolor metallic. This is a metallic blue. Let's use the metallic blue. What the heck? Why not? And so you can come in here and sort of define your edges using the Prismacolor pencils. The big set I have is in the other room. I just happen to have some of the metallics here. So let's just use the metallics that I have here. And they will work together with your oil pastels. Isn't that fun? Okay, so you can draw on top of it. Let's say that I wanted to do a little bit of definition of the wing here. See, I can just draw right on top. Now, it depends on how um, creamy your oil pastels are. So if I were using Sennelier, which is a brand of super creamy oil pastels, this might not work. But because Pentel are a harder oil pastel, I can literally write right on top of it. Just gently here, I'm just doing small strokes, and then that is giving me a little bit of definition. It is sort of eating away at some of what's there, but I'm getting the effect that I want, where you can see the small feathers. Nice. And then like that. So can you see those little lines right there? And of course, when you're doing sketches like this is the time when you want to experiment with things like this. There was actually a section up here where we had, it was a smaller section up here like this. So I'm just adding a few extra, extras there. Little extra definition to that top area right there. You see that? It's so fun. So, but when you're doing, even when you're doing a finished work that is an oil pastel, if you're using a harder oil pastel, so these pentels or um, there's Caran d'Ache Neo Pastel, and I was showing you the Van Gogh. These are all a little bit harder uh, oil pastels, so you can work back into them with your Prismacolor pencils, which is so much fun. Let's do the eye. What the heck? I'll just sort of do around the eye here, so we get a little bit of definition on the eye. Oh, that's fun. And then here we need to do a little bit of definition around the beak. Let's do that. Nice. Okay, so we added a little more definition up into the face with the Prismacolor. This is these are cute. This is Prismacolor metallic, and so you can get a set where you have a whole bunch of the metallics. So I have the blue metallic, I have the silver metallic. Let's see what else is here. Green metallic. There's a couple more here. Metallic gold, metallic purple, and metallic, I think this is the last one, metallic copper. So I think that is the whole set. Let me see. Maybe there's more. I happen to put them next to me at my desk because I really like playing with the metallics. And that's all I see. So I think that's the whole set. Yeah. Okay. So those are the Prismacolor metallics. All right, let's do some clouds. I'm always like, with the clouds. Um, I'm gonna, instead of using the what is this, the Pentel oil pastels? See, I'm cleaning the top of this on my paper towel just because it was quite dirty. Um, so let me get the I like the Paul Rubens. Is a little bit, well, these are a lot softer, a lot stickier. They're like super soft. Oh, I'm getting it all over my hands right now. So let's try these for some clouds in the background because the other picture that I had the little critter, the little seagull with all these pretty clouds in the background. So I'm just going to use that as my inspiration, and we will do some clouds here. And this is, you're going to find the Paul Rubin white is much creamier. And so we're just going to lay in some clouds, some puffy clouds here. The other thing that you can do with a softer pastel like the Paul Rubens is that you can use a palette knife. Oop, not that one. Let's get a smaller one. Smaller. I only have 10 million palette knives here. Let's see. Oh, those are too big. I'm looking for a smaller one. There, a smaller one like this. And what I have here is a little bit of palette paper. So you can take a little bit of the end of it off like that. And then you can work it like this with your palette knife and get it on the bottom of your palette knife. And then you have texture. And the Paul Rubens are good for this because they are softer. And so then I can take that and I can literally come in and really build up that the texture on the clouds. Or if you're doing, say, mountains and you want to do the mountain tops, do you see how that looks? You can do that with the soft and using a palette knife with the Paul Rubens. Okay, so that's part of the cloud, right? The thing is that I have to, I'm going to make it look like it's going back behind. And there are some other colors in here. There's a gray and a blue, right? So we're just going to play with that for a moment. And let's see. I love the grays that are in here, but I really like the blues, the blues, the blues. There's not just the right blue. Let me see. Let me look over here because I have, you can see I have a lot of like light sky color blues here. This one is kind of a blue gray. Let's try that one maybe. Let's see how it works on top of here. Because that's soft and this is not so soft, but you can use your palette and you can test it. Oh, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So let's work with that. And let's just put a little bit of the blue in there. And this looks really good against the black. So it's just sort of building up here a little bit. And remember too, that if you want to, you can use your finger and you can blend the colors together if you want to make it softer, even softer. Oh, there's a nice soft blend there, right? So this is your permission to experiment, right? If you're going to sketch, like I was sketching this critter here, this seagull, and I'm just experimenting. I'm experimenting with the different um, pastels. I'm experimenting with the black paper. I'm experimenting with the marker. And I encourage you to spend some time just experimenting like this with various surfaces and various medium. I like even though the oil pastel feels a little sticky in your hand, I like the immediacy of it without all the dust. I love my dry pastels, the chalk, what they call chalk pastels sometimes. I adore my chalk pastels, but they get dust everywhere. And that's one of the reasons why, especially if I'm sketching like this, I like working with the oil pastels because I want the oil pastels. To give me sort of a feel of colors and where I'm going, but without the dust that you would get with soft pastels. Like I said, don't get me wrong, I love dry pastels, but if I'm going to sketch, I usually will grab my oil pastels instead. Okay, so that is the lesson for today.